So first thing I'll do is ask your name, then what you're running for, right?
Okay.
So please state your name
My name is Emily Nunez,
and what are you running for?
Florida House District 15.
Ms. Nunez, why do you want to be a state representative?
I want to be a state representative because I feel like we have a lot of elected officials today who lack the moral courage to say and do the things that need to be said and done, aside from our great Governor Ron DeSantis, and I want to provide him the support that he needs for conservative values in the Florida House.
What are the biggest issues facing Florida and what are your plans to address them?
I think that the biggest issues right now that are facing Florida are, one, people are concerned about public safety. The governor wants to pass constitutional carry while he is in the Florida House. I plan on helping that by sponsoring a bill so that people feel more empowered to protect themselves. I'm also going to sponsor a bill for to protect our children. I'm pro-life, a heartbeat bill. Now that Roe versus Wade has given the rights back to the states, now we can exceed the current 15-week and promote a heartbeat bill here in the state of Florida. And I think that also people are very concerned about election integrity. If we aren't confident in our elections, we have lost our country. I do plan on sponsoring a bill to have election audits.
What are the most pressing issues facing specifically Nassau County and how do you plan to address them?
My team, we've knocked a lot of doors. I've met with a lot of constituents in the district. People are concerned about the economy, about inflation. People are concerned about the racist CRT that's being taught in our schools. I plan on making sure that that is completely banned from our school systems in our areas. And also in Nassau County, people are concerned about overdevelopment, that we don't have the infrastructure in place that we need before we welcome all of these businesses in and preserving our way of life here in Nassau County.
How have you prepared yourself to be a state representative?
I'm a 12-year military veteran of the Navy and the Marine Corps. I know what good leadership is, I know what bad leadership is, and I think that right now we really just need someone who understands that whenever people are asked to sacrifice, it's coming from the top down, not from the bottom up. And over the shutdowns and the lockdowns, that's not what we saw. We saw people from the bottom up having to sacrifice with no accountability at the top, and I plan on bringing that to the State House.
Are there any specific committees that you would like to serve on if elected?
I would like to serve on the safety, the public justice and safety subcommittee, specifically because on that committee, that's where our constitutional carry bill always dies. We have Republicans that say they are Second Amendment conservatives, that they love gun rights, but every time we try and get a constitutional carry bill, it dies in that committee, and I would like to make it transparent on who is killing that bill and why.
What sets you apart from your opponent?
Well, you know, my opponent, for the lack of a better word, is an establishment. You know, I am not establishment. I am a middle class, you know, hardworking American like everyone else. I'm not funded by special interest lobbyists. All of my donations in my campaign are funded by grassroots people. My loyalties will always be to we the people here in Nassau County and not to the big businesses or party leadership. I will always be accountable to you.
Thank you, Ms. Nunez.
Thank you.
Hey, please state your name for us.
John Chuba.
And what are you running for?
Running for U.S. Congress in northeastern Florida in District 4. It covers Nassau County, Clay County, and the northern and western portions of Duval County.
Mr. Chuba, please tell us about the qualifications, education, and experiences that will qualify you to serve as a member of Congress.
My education background is a major in philosophy with minors in political science and theology. As a philosophy major, I know where I stand in my core values of conservatism and Christianity, but at the same time I can love and respect all people and understand where they're coming from while never compromising in my values. In terms of my background, I currently work for a health insurance company, drafting benefit contracts for large group employer benefit packages, and I am also a deacon and youth minister at my church. So with my background in terms of work, I believe I will be a good legislator. And in terms of my background as a deacon and youth minister, I believe I will be a great servant to the people in this district.
What are the most pressing issues facing our nation today, and what legislation would you as a member of Congress support to deal with them?
Honestly, there are so many right now, but I believe one of the biggest things is really the economy. We need to make sure that we are opening up our oil supply right here in the United States, and making sure that we open up those pipelines. We need to lower those gas prices so the everyday average American can have more money to be able to pay toward their bills and other expenses. This will also lower transportation costs and the pricing of all the other goods. Secondly, we need to make sure we ramp up our supply of housing. And we need to prioritize families over investors so that we can get more families into homes so they can achieve that American dream. We also need to make sure that we are investing heavily in our youth. Finance classes, career training, mentorship programs, and apprenticeships to make sure that our children are ready for financial success in the future regardless of where they stand in life. We need to make sure that we invest in our youth, secure our borders, stand for life, etc.
Should we continue providing weapons, supplies, and material to support the government in Ukraine?
I do not believe that we should be supplying anything further. We've spent enough money helping Ukraine to stand on their own feet. It's up to them to do that now. We have a lot of Americans that are struggling here, that are in need of financial support because of all the disastrous policies that the left has implemented, leaving many people unable to afford even housing. And we need to take care of those that are here in this country first.
If elected, what specific committees would you like to serve on?
I would love to serve on committees that deal with housing, our economy, or anything that entails ensuring that we can improve the success of the American citizen, whether that's education. There's honestly so many committees. I'm not picky about which one they put me on, as long as I feel in my heart that I can make a big difference for America and the people.
Should the House of Representatives continue investigating the previous administration?
Yes, we should continue to investigate. There are a lot of wrongs that have been done with the previous administration. With the current administration. If you're referring to the Trump administration, no. Those hearings need to end. We need to move on, and we need to focus on how we're going to repair the damage that has been done to our country with the high inflation, the overrun border, and so many other policies that have failed the American people.
Do you support a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution?
Absolutely. Our country is excessively spending. Every year we continue to spend more and more. It's out of control. We need to finally create a balanced budget. We need to make sure our legislation sticks to single subjects rather than throwing a whole bunch of off-topic items in there and special interest items. We need to cap our elections. We need to make sure that we are being a voice of the people. We need to really rein in the government spending and create that balanced budget so that we can ensure a financial success of our country and for our future children to make sure that they are in a good position moving forward.
Assuming that all the rest of the candidates are qualified, what sets you apart from them?
The thing that sets me apart is honestly being a servant. I am not tied to lobbyists. I am not tied to big money. I am a grassroots candidate. I am the only candidate for U.S. Congress in District 4 who qualified by petition. I may not have the money that the others have, but I believe I was called to serve in this position. I am working hard on the ground, meeting everyday people, and I want to be your voice. I want to make sure that you are not drowned out by the lobbyists and the big money, but that you can contact me directly, that I can be a representative for you, and that I have a heart to be a servant for you, each and every day that I serve in office.
Thank you, Mr. Chuba.
Not a problem. Thank you guys. God bless.
All right, please state your name for us.
Yeah, my name's Hup Hupman, candidate for County Commissioner, District 2, Nassau County.
What section of the Nassau County budget do you feel is most mismanaged?
Gosh, I can't specifically answer that one. I would say that we need to look at a percentage and go through line by line the entire budget and look to take a percentage off to ease up taxes on the taxpayers.
What are the biggest issues facing our county today, and what do you propose to address those issues?
Yeah, briefly, I'd say some of the big ones are controlling taxation. Public safety should always be number one. We got to keep our eye on that area. We're losing employees going north and south for better pay and benefits. I think managing growth and development, and that means proper planning, is really key right now. Right now, we're kind of ending up in litigation, and that's not an outcome anybody wants to work on.
If elected, will you commit to not raising property taxes?
Absolutely. Last year was the first time they used the adjusted rollback rate. I think that's a win for taxpayers, and we got to keep that policy in place going forward.
Are you in favor of imposing special taxing districts, MSBUs, MSTUs, to pay for infrastructure, police, and fire services?
Yeah, I think that's got to come from the county budget, right? And part of the regular budgeting process. We need to make that work within the budget.
And what is your position on impact fees?
Yeah, they need to be paid. I can't put that on the back of taxpayers either. Impact fees need to be paid by the developers so we can get the infrastructure in place and the taxpayers aren't carrying the burden on that.
Sir, thank you for your time, Mr. Please state your name.
George Spicer,
And what are you running for?
County Commissioner, District 4, Nassau County.
Mr. Spicer, what section of the county budget do you feel is most mismanaged?
Well, I haven't really looked at the county budget very closely until I can study them numbers to gain an opinion of where the waste is and where it's not. I'm going to plead the fifth on that one.
Okay. Let's go now to question 2. What are the biggest issues facing our county today, and how do you propose to address those issues?
Well, I think the most important issues are infrastructure, public housing, transportation, taxes.
How do you plan to fix those issues?
Well, as before, when I was the city commissioner, I never voted for Avalon property tax increases or gas tax because I felt there wasn't a need for it. But you got outvoted. So that's what you're faced up against. But nowadays, people are struggling, whether anybody knows that or not. And there needs to be discussions on that board on Avalon rollback, on Avalon taxes. Property values goes up every year, and you need to accommodate.
If elected, will you commit to not raising property taxes?
Well, I'll put it this way. If elected, I'll do my due diligence as I've done before. I have a proven track record. If there's a need and Nassau County's sinking, that's one thing. But if there's a want, no, absolutely not.
Are you in favor of imposing special taxing districts, MSBUs, MSTUs, to pay for infrastructure, police, and fire services?
Am I opposed to that? Is that what the question is?
In favor or opposed?
Well, I'm not opposed to that. I was in favor of that with our good neighbors over here at Wildlife. So they help pay for parks and recreations. So anyway,
All right.
that's how I feel about it.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Spicer.
You're welcome.
Please state your name.
Allison McCullough,
And what are you running for?
Nassau County Commissioner, District 4.
What section of the county budget do you feel is the most mismanaged?
I believe that there's several components that are mismanaged. I think for the first time in years, we need to have an outside perspective come in, whether it be from the lucrative studies that we're doing without being able to fill our potholes, or the fact that our county manager makes more than our Florida governor. I think there's a lot of areas line by line that we need to go through, cut back, and I believe we'll be able to come up with nothing short of $20 to $30 million in the budget to adequately pay our firefighters and fill our potholes.
What is the biggest issue facing our county today, and how do you propose to address those issues?
Transparency and trust. I feel like in 2022, the population is so disconnected from politics and policies that affect them every day. Our county deserves a commissioner who is there with them, boots on the ground. They're at their ball games, at their dinner table, and we go back to that connection where government works for the people, not people working for the government.
If elected, will you commit to not raising property taxes?
I will not only commit to not raising property taxes, it's back to that line-by-line budget cutting. Instead of starting at the rollback rate, let's have a true reduction in millage. We've got a surplus of ad valorem. This is the year to buckle in and pull down and give the people what they deserve.
Are you in favor of imposing special taxing districts, MSBUs, and MSTUs to pay for infrastructure, police, and fire services?
I think in the areas where it's warranted, if we're able to line by line in the budget, but that's not even a conversation to even bring forward. Neither is the additional mill right now for the school board. We've got to cut back, pull in our reins, and cut out the special projects.
What is your position on impact fees?
I think impact fees, we have to have growth pay for itself. Everyone's, disgruntled that it cost an arm and a leg to put in a house in this county, but we've got to have schools, we've got to pay teachers, we've got to be able to drive down our roads. If you want quality services, you've got to pay a quality price.
Thank you, Ms. McCullough.
You're welcome, Bo. Love you, Bo.